Funding for Art Loft was made possible by Friends of Art and
In the Florida Keys and Key West, every night is a spectacular show. And every day is another masterpiece.
Hi, I'm Lolo Reskin, and from the Old Road Gallery in Islamorada, this is Art Loft. Welcome back. I'm Lolo Reskin. This week on Art Loft, we are on site at the charming Old Road Gallery in Islamorada. From this outpost in the Florida Keys, we review stories across multiple artistic disciplines. First, we head to the Islamorada studio of artist Valerie Perreault. This award-winning artist is known for works that meld her talents as a poet and a printmaker. Join us as we delve into her unique artistic practice.
Well, lately I've been doing a lot of things that are island life, island style, things that really sum up my area of Islamorada, where I'm from. So I do a lot of trees and birds and tropical aspects. I have some fun stuff too, popsicles and stuff, but I really, I like to say that it has an island vibe. My name is Valerie Perreault, and I'm a poet and a visual artist. You know, Portside Print Shop is called Portside Print Shop because the port side is the left side of the boat, and I'm left-handed. The house is also, if you're heading south, down to the Keys, we're on the left side. You make a left, and we're on the left side of the road. It starts with an idea, so I would get out a piece of paper and just a pencil like any other person and sketch it out and do a design of how I want it to look. And usually that will take a day or two because I have to erase and pick how I want it to look exactly. Finalize the sketch in a way that I think is perfect, and then I transfer that sketch onto the linoleum block. I use my carving tools to carve away the negative parts, and then I choose my inks. I put ink on a plate, roll it out with the roller. I usually use a homemade Japanese washi paper. It's really absorbent and it adds all these like super cool little flecks and pocks and stuff like that. I happen to use something really simple. It's just a little reed circle that I run over the back of the paper. It gives it a really rough and organic and rustic look to it that I really love. So it transfers those negatives and positives onto the paper, and then with this awesomely sticky sound, you get to pull the paper up and you see all of your work. You get to see it on the piece of paper. This piece right here is called Beach Road, which is the road that my studio is on, where I'm at right now, in Islamorada. It is, to me, the best road in all of the Keys. All my friends live here, and the piece basically is an aerial map from my perspective of what Beach Road is like. So it has the cactus that's in my studio backyard that blooms only once a year. It has Miss Alma's billion cats. It has my dog, it has my neighbor's dog, the beach, the moorings house where the Netflix show Bloodline is shot, the neighborhood pools, everybody's pets and flowers, and all the things that are on there are something that's really precious to me, and it's just my way of saying thank you to this street for being so welcoming and warm. Poetry, I've been writing poetry my whole life. I've recently had a little success. I had some published, and I'm finalist for a couple awards and a couple books, and that's been really great. Side project, I guess, that I do is called the End Quote Project. My whole life been really obsessed with books and reading. It is my passion. It was something that my mother got me involved in reading when I was really young. In order to remember a book, because I'd be so sad when it was over, I would take the last line of the book and I would write it down in my diary, which now I'm a grown-up, so we call it a journal. A couple years ago, I went back and I was looking through some of my old diaries and stuff, and I thought, look at all these old, and my kid handwriting, and getting older, but look at all these last lines. And I thought, how fun is that? They're like lines of poetry. They really sum up what the book was about. So I started making the last line into like little poem columns and printing them out. There's never a lack of inspiration. I mean, it's beautiful here. recently lost my mom from cancer, and she loved it down here. Before she died, I was just like everybody else. You know, I go from my house to my car to my work. I have my face in my phone, and I'm just completely checked out. And she just fought so hard to stay for the littlest thing. She would go outside and she'd be, look at this bird, baby. Just the littlest stuff. And I actually started doing port side and really going more aggressively into the artwork when she took a decline. And I think that it was my way of appreciating this life, not just for myself, but for her. Because if she can't be here, I was gonna be here twice. I was gonna notice. I was gonna have my eyes open. I was gonna care about the paddle boards lined up against the shop, or I was gonna care about how sweet it is just to have a popsicle on the back porch, or how cool the palm trees look off a cache key, you know, all that stuff. This is my way of forcing myself to pay attention to the world around me instead of blindly passing through and enjoying it for the two of us.
Coming up on Art Loft.
The physicality of moving the clay, wedging the clay, sitting at the wheel, forming, shaping, glazing, into the kiln, out of the kiln.
Artist Steve Gompf applies his knowledge of furniture design and decorative arts to create televisors. These TV sets only look vintage, so much so that they frequently fool visitors at the Mesa Contemporary Arts Museum. Arizona PBS in Phoenix brings us this offbeat profile.
The purpose of the Televisor Museum International is the preservation, restoration, and conservation of vintage devices, historical documents, and materials, together with being a center for the study of archaic image transmission technologies from the televisor era, 1884 to 1928, which is all BS. I'm Steve Gompf, and I go to thrift stores, buy a bunch of crap, and I glue it together and make it look like it is an antique television from the 1800s. And people believe it. Basically, growing up, I was a military brat. So I was born in Puerto Rico, moved to Madrid, then Rome, then Arizona, then to England, then to Missouri, then to Germany, then to Omaha, then to Kansas City, then to here. And I've been here ever since. Here meaning Mesa, Arizona. While my folks and my family was in these different countries, we'd go to a lot of junk stores or flea markets, and my parents were antique collectors, and especially clocks and stuff. So I kind of knew about the different periods of furniture and styles of decorative arts from that experience, so that when I go to these thrift stores and I'll see a little item that I could use parts of to create, a period piece, I'll snag it. I've even used just items around the house. I remember I was building a piece, and of course, not last minute, up to the last minute, I was working on it. I actually used the plate of what I had dinner on the night before. I used that as the lens for the piece. So I'll just look for something that either looks deco or looks Art Nouveau, and kind of use that and put them together to create the pieces. I have an undergraduate degree in photography and a graduate degree in intermedia from Arizona State University. And so I'm a video artist, and this is a way that I can show video in a gallery situation. Been doing art for 30-odd years, and I cannot stop. Televisors is actually the Spanish and French name for television. And in the very beginning of the development of television, especially in England, with John Logie Baird, the Scottish engineer, he built a device that was partially mechanical, and he called his device a televisor. So I just used that name as kind of a historical reference for it. And I've actually, in some of my label information, I'll use actual historical information and kind of slant it a little bit to fit the piece. And sometimes I just totally make it up. I recently had a show called Distant Visions, Apparatus and Ephemera from the Televisor Era, 1884 through 1928, which is, 1884 is the first patented television system, Paul Nepkow, a German engineer, to 1928, which is Philo T. Farnsworth's fully electronic version of it. And these devices that I have there, that look like devices, are basically an assembly of objects that I found at thrift stores and put them together. And I put tablets, computer tablets, inside of them, and it looks like they're playing video. And what I've done to make it look like period work is take a bunch of Muybridge stop-action motion shots that he took in the 1890s and recombine them into different scenes. Accompanying the work, they'll have labels next to them that say, that talk about their significance in the development of television, who the inventor was, the country of origin, and a little snippet about that device itself. And people just believe it. They actually believe that they are antiques, and this whole thing actually existed.
It's interesting. People will come in here and they will think it's real televisions, that early form of the television. And that's what Steve is trying to create. He wants to create this fictitious history of the early television. And so when you've got this fun name, televisor, which actually is a real term, and he's made these creations based off of what his own imagination, what they would have looked like. So you're kind of almost peeking in Steve's head.
I just think that people buy the pieces because they've been fooled by them, and they want to take it home and kind of say that this is an antique, that device, and kind of fool their friends. I was actually installing a piece at somebody's house, and he called me his televisor repairman.
I think Steve is kind of a little bit of a trickster. I think he does like the tongue-in-cheek-ness of it, and he wants people to take a closer look at his work, see what's going on there. He's even mentioned to me how he'd love to take it on the Antiques Roadshow and see what they would say at this creation and see what their expression would be. So I think he kind of likes the fooling value of it, and he likes to also hear, he'll sometimes come in the gallery and be here and hear what the visitors are saying. So I think he kind of wants to hear what they're saying about his work. I think that's an important part of it, an element, how people interact with his work is important to him.
I think it's evolved in that the first time I presented them, I said I collected these devices, and then I decided to come up with this museum that added an extra layer to it and added believability to it, more fake stuff to make it more real. As a layer to the project, I've created a website called Teleseum.org, Teleseum.org. And it's set up as if it was a museum's website, and it's the Televisor Museum International, which the abbreviation TMI, too much information. That's what it is. It's too much information. It presents my work as if this was a legitimate, actual, real museum that collects these devices that really kind of didn't exist. There's a little section that says, on Thursday it's free for senior citizens and for students, and call us for groups more than 10, because docent tours can be arranged, but there's no contact information, there's no address, there's no phone number, there's nothing but that page on the internet. As another layer to the project, or to the artwork of it, I decided on the last show that I made to come up with a catalog that is actually presented as if it was made by the Televisor Museum International. Part of the premise is if people would believe anything on TV, why wouldn't they believe anything is a TV? And they do.
Coming up on Art Loft.
To have a certain visceral resonance, to have a power that lingers beyond the curtain.
Ceramic and sculpture artist Ernest Miller invests significant time and effort to create his signature pieces. From shaping the vessels with his hands to creating custom glazes, his creations bridge modern and traditional design. Take a look as we go inside his studio with Twin Cities PBS.
What attracted me to clay was the physicality of working with the clay. As much as it may involve simply sitting at the potter's wheel, and that's what we always see projected. With clay, there's so much responsibility. The physicality of moving the clay, wedging the clay, sitting at the wheel, forming, shaping, glazing, into the kiln, out of the kiln. I enjoy that physical engagement. I first became interested in ceramics when I was in high school. Exploring many shapes, many ways of working with clay, it became addicting where I wanted to try every technique in the book. It's kind of like the Wild West of just doing whatever I want all through school and try to absorb what is my favorite way of working. This is one of my favorite parts, is the carving. Because the lines start to come alive, these lines start to become sharp from top to bottom. My relationship, or thinking of it, is kind of like a carving wood almost. You can see where it's drying just about right where the clay is falling away. The carving is a great way of quickly removing material. I find the carving marks can be distracting from the overall form. Some of my work still will be left simple and round. Over time, I really felt like I needed to engage the pieces after they've been thrown. The carving, the hand manipulation. Glaze formulation is very rewarding, yet at the same time very challenging, because I want to deliver a beautiful surface, but I need reliability as well. And when you have all these number of ingredients that chemically react, they can become volatile and deliver unreliable results. Glazing now is a slow process, but it's very rewarding. I think most of you know this. I like to come across, I'll level the foot. And I left a lot of clay through this area for support. I teach at Fired Up Studios and at the Minnetonka Center for Arts. The type of classes I teach, they can range from very beginner, and people also come to me who've had some experience. So this is where having that clay, the right water content, becomes so important. So I can come in and grabbing that handle, press it in there. Teaching is important because it helps me refresh my ideas. And also when I see new students coming to clay, they will approach clay differently than myself. And it keeps my mind nimble. Here's an experiment. I can't say it worked all that great, but it's just to show not all my cups work out. Some like it, not quite me, but it's good to see. I'm kind of chasing making the perfect pot or the perfect vessel, and that keeps me going back into the studio. Maybe someday when I make that perfect vessel that embodies everything that I'm thinking and feeling, maybe I'll be done, won't make any other pots. But until then, I walk into the studio every day.
Next week on Art Loft.
I'm really drawn to kind of mysterious, haunting imagery.
Chamber Dance Project is a contemporary ballet company that calls Washington, D.C. home. A live string quartet accompanies dancers on stage, resulting in an unconventional experience for performers and audiences alike. We went behind the scenes with WETA Public Television to learn more about this unique project. Take a look.
With Chamber Dance Project, our vision is to expand the audience's engagement in the process, as well as to collaborate with very high-end artists and create works of contemporary resonance. We We start every morning with company class, and this is where they get their bodies ready for the day, which is fairly arduous. It's 5-6 hours of rehearsal.
The one around, yes, good. We're missing how she around and keep turning. You keep turning, you keep turning. Transfer your weight to the front leg. Wait.
Look at me, and she continuously rejects you, and you continuously, like a puppy, follow her.
We've spent most of this year preparing for our second big season in DC.
I met Diane last year, and she described the project, and it sounded really different from anything that I had ever done before, which was to have 6 dancers and 4 musicians, all equal partners in this chamber, small scale, intimate kind of setting with the musicians on stage.
To work with the same group of dancers and musicians so that we get a real joie de vivre and a true deep collaboration. We don't just bring the musicians in at the end and put them in the pit. They're on stage with us, and they're a big part of what we do.
The fact of having the live music is pretty awesome. Share the energy with the musicians and just make a band that is special and different.
Just to see these beautiful dancers as we play is really, really rewarding.
I'm extremely grateful to Washington, D.C. I've found it an extremely open and collaborative town, and so now it's really my home, and it's my artistic home, too.
What we're doing is what I called SI, or structured improv. And the corollary for the musicians is I hand them score and parts for a piece they've never played together. So they are sight reading. The dancers don't know what the heck is going to come out of the quartet, and they're doing it together.
Everybody gets nervous about because we don't know what we're doing. They just put new music for the musicians, and we just go and try to create something with all of us together, which is it could be very dangerous if you're, if you're moving in a different direction. You don't know what you're doing. You can hurt somebody, but it's been
we collide.
It's been great to find out how people actually respond to you, to your movement, and around you. Aware with each other.
We're very used to have someone in front of us telling us what to do. But at this moment, we have the creative process on stage with the public staring. So you have no choice. You just have to make it happen and make it work.
It feels very awkward on stage, but the audience loves it. So that's what we're going to do at every show.
I like to think they're really on the edge, and the audience will experience that. And it is shockingly profound and fun.
It's really different from anything you've seen or heard before.
Now!
To have a certain visceral resonance, to have a power that lingers beyond the curtain. I want that power to linger in them.
I think the purpose is to give them something away from what the daily routine is. So they should just take away a piece of art in their hearts. Like we just want to give them a little motivation for something else and just make them fly and dream.
Thanks for joining us on Art Loft. You can always connect with us on social media at Art Loft SFL and watch us anytime on the PBS app by selecting WPBT2 as your local station. For Art Loft, I'm Lola Reskin. See you next time.
Funding for Art Loft was made possible by Friends of Art and
In the Florida Keys and Key West, every night is a spectacular show. And every day is another masterpiece.
Site at the charming Old Road Gallery in Islamorada. From this outpost in the Florida Keys, we review stories across multiple artistic disciplines. First, we head to the Islamorada studio of artist Valerie Perreault. This award-winning artist is known for works that meld her talents as a poet and a printmaker. Join us as we delve into her unique artistic practice.
Well, lately I've been doing a lot of things that are island life, island style, things that really sum up my area of Islamorada, where I'm from. So I do a lot of trees and birds and tropical aspects. I have some fun stuff too, popsicles and stuff, but I really, I like to say that it has an island vibe. My name is Valerie Perreault, and which is the road that my studio is on, where I'm at right now, in Islamorada. It is, to me, the best road in all of the Keys. All my friends live here, and the piece basically is an aerial map from my perspective of what Beach Road is like. So it has the cactus that's in my studio backyard that blooms only once a year. It has Miss Alma's billion cats. It has my dog, it has my neighbor's dog, the beach, the moorings house where the Netflix show Bloodline is shot, the neighborhood pools, everybody's pets and flowers and everything.
Funding for Art Loft was made possible by Friends of Art and
In the Florida Keys and Key West, every night is a spectacular show. And every day is another masterpiece.
Hi, I'm Lola Reskin, and from the Old Road Gallery in Islamorada, this is Art Loft. Welcome back. I'm Lola Reskin. This week on Art Loft, we are on...
Carve away the negative parts. And then I choose my inks. I put ink on a plate, roll it out with the roller. I usually use a homemade Japanese washi paper. It's really absorbent and it adds all these like super cool little flecks and pocks and stuff like that. I happen to use something really simple. It's just a little reed circle that I run over the back of the paper. It gives it a really rough and organic and rustic look to it that I really love. So it transfers those negatives and positives onto the paper, and then with this awesomely sticky sound, you get to pull the paper up and you see all of your work. You get to see it on the piece of paper. This piece right here is called Beach Run, a poet and a visual artist. You know, Portside Print Shop is called Portside Print Shop because the port side is the left side of the boat, and I'm left-handed. The house is also, if you're heading south, down to the Keys, we're on the left side. You make a left and we're on the left side of the road. It starts with an idea. So I would get out a piece of paper and just a pencil like any other person and sketch it out and do a design of how I want it to look. And usually that will take a day or two because I have to erase and pick how I want it to look exactly. Finalize the sketch in a way that I think is perfect, and then I transfer that sketch onto the linoleum block. I use my carving tools to